Hi, welcome to Gladys Creations. Today I'm hosting a collaboration with my friend Tiffany from Blessed Crafts, and we're doing the Homie Gnomies collaboration today. And today I only have two projects because they were kind of lengthy. Plus, it was my daughter's birthday yesterday, and I didn't have much time to um, do the video. That's why it's a little bit late. So let's get into DIY number one, okay? And here I have two gnomes that I had gotten from Family Dollar during Valentine's, and I am going to redo them for Christmas in July, and that's the theme that I'm going for. So here I take it and I take it apart. I trim his beard because it had all this glue on it, and I had a lot of problems trying to take off this one. The other one I didn't have too much problems with taking apart, but this whole thing was glued together, and when this was not no regular hot glue, I tell you, but I had a lot of problems. I couldn't take off that heart at all. So what I did was trim it down, and I was going to fold the hat over anyways there. I'm going to be making him into Santa Claus. Okay. So I take him apart and I get his arms off. I take off his hat and a little bit so I could uh, add the clothing that I'm going to do on it. And there I'm measuring the width of the arm. So the arm is 2 inches. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a 4-inch square. And there, that's what you see me cutting out. And I'm going to cut out two pieces there of 4 inches in square like that. And then I'm going to turn it on its wrong side and do it again. Now, this cloth gave me a lot of problems because it was very slippery. And not only that it was slippery, but it kept curling up on me whenever I was trying to glue it. So I did have a lot of problems. There I'm measuring around to see if I have enough for fabric. So what I do is I measure the width of the thicker side of him. Okay, so it's a little bit bigger on him, because that's like gonna be his his Santa Claus jacket. So I cut it all crazy there because it doesn't matter because I'm gonna hem it anyways and fix it. So there I have the piece on the right side. I fold it over to each other, and then that's when I make the little tube kind of thing. Then I turn it inside out. I mean the right side out and stuff after I do that. I had a lot of problems because the glue was going right through. It wouldn't want to stick. I kept burning myself. I mean, like, and that's why you see me using the finger protectors a lot. And so I finally get it, and I glue it together, and I glue it on to the arm, and I do the same thing on the other one and glue that together. And that those square pieces were 4 by 4. If you're wondering what the measurements were, it was 4 inches by 4 inches. And and I did both of them the same. Then I glue them onto the arm, right on top of the fabric that was there already. Okay, and then here I'm making legs. Okay, so it's gonna be like his little pants. So I also try to do the foot. I had a lot of problems doing the foot. Like, it kept, no matter how much I tried to round it off, it didn't want to round off for me. I even cut it and stuff, and it just wouldn't round. The tip wouldn't round off right. It kept like getting like squared off when I was cutting it because it was the same material that I got. That one I got from Dollar Tree, and it was the same kind of material as the red material. It was like a velvety but real thin, and it just kept, like, see, you see how the glue kept seeping through? It would go like right through the material. It would curl up. It would form to how it wanted to form. So I had a lot of difficulties, but I did get it rounded off um, the second time. Here's the second time that I did it, and what I did was that I glued it together, and then I put the seam down, and then just what I did was then I rounded it. Then I put the seam like right in the center, and then I flattened it and curved it, and that's how I was able to do it. And still I had glue seeping through, but I was successful in getting it together. Then once I take and do this part, which is the boots, I do the legs and I glue them together, and they're the same thing as the arm, the 4x4 and pieces, and I glue them together like a tube. Okay, and there I go, and then I turn them the right side out, do the same thing, and then I connect. I take the red material and put it inside the black material. See, I put the glue in the inside, put the red in there, and then I put it on, I put glue on the other side and do the other side. This time I put it on top of the red material and then press down the black material, and then I do the same thing with the other one, so they connect. I'm not worried about what the edges look like because I'm going to take fur and I'm going to be gluing fur to the edges. I think I'm doing that next. Oh no, first I'm doing the wiring. Now I cut the wire to be the exact length, but then it was a little bit too long after I folded it and bent it on the bottom to make the foot. You see how I'm making it? It still stuck out a little bit too far, so I clipped the end. You seen how I just clipped the end? And I clipped off like maybe a 1/2 inch, okay? And then there, see, after I looped it and I bent it, then I put it inside the boot, inside the leg and the boot. And first I put a little bit of cotton, and then I put the metal in, the wire in. This is so the foot would bend a little bit, okay? And then I stuff it up a lot. Like, I wanted to stuff it so it was stiff, okay? I didn't want it to be like cushy or anything because it was the legs. I wanted them to be that if I would bend them, you would see the bending in it and everything. You know, if you make it too soft and mushy, then you can't see the definition of when you fold them. Okay, so there I do that, and then I make sure the ends are even, and I stuff it to, it's about the width of my finger, my thumb, and then I seal it on the top. I check to see if it looks good on the bottom. So here I am. I divided the hair and cut it so I wouldn't have all that extra fur flying around. I have fur everywhere. Like, when I'm telling you, I was working with this, I had to keep on using my little desk vacuum and everything, because this fur was like so everywhere, like everywhere. So then when I glued it on, I don't know if you got to see that, but when I got to the seam part, I put glue on the fur in the inside, and then I squeezed it together so you didn't see the seam line, okay? Now here I'm gluing together, I'm doing the edges. Like I said, I was gonna do the two sides of So see how I hemmed them and then straighten it out. That's why I wasn't worried about it being that you could that it was crooked. So I fixed it by hemming it. Then I'm gluing it all around the body, as you see there. And I start in the back. And then I join them together in the back. And I think I end up cutting a piece. Or don't I? Oh, I fold it. Yeah, that's what I did. I folded it over and then glued it down. Okay. Yep, oh there, I did cut a piece off. See, yeah, I did cut. It was a lot. So then I brought, and what I did was I started it in the front and ended it in the front because I wanted to look like a jacket, like if it was overlapping. Okay, and there I put the fur, so it looks like it's the fur from the Santa jacket. Okay, and I glued that right underneath the beard and then put down the beard and tacked it a little bit. Here I had a belt that was left over from a collaboration that I was doing for Just Your Imagination that I had left over, and I used that. I cut it down and adjusted it, and then I glued it in the back a little bit, and then there I'm trimming the fur a little. And there you go, he has a belt now. Now I attach the arms. I put it underneath the hat, behind the beard. So right there, you see that? I tack it right next to the beard and underneath the hat, and then I tack the hat down to it. Then I vacuum him up. You see, I'm vacuuming him. I even vacuumed him with the vacuum. And then I attached the legs on the bottom, and I had so many problems attaching these legs, but I got it down finally. They were coming out crooked, or they were either getting loose and they wouldn't stay. I had to hold them down for a while so they would work. So then here I get some a piece of fur that I had left over, and I attach it to the point, and I take it and I glue it right on top of that white heart that I had left on there from before, and then I tack the hat to that so it folds over, and then I tack it in the back with a little bit of glue, and I had to hold it down for a little bit. You see how I keep grabbing it and holding it because it kept separating, but I finally got it to hold, and there you go, he's done, and you'll see him better at the final reveal. Here comes DIY number 2. Now this one was crazy. This one I had less problems, like I said, taking apart. You see how I have it all taken apart? Easy. I take here one of those Dollar Tree microfiber white cloths, and I'm gonna be cutting this exactly like the doll is, but a little bit wider, and I'm gonna cut it in a triangle. At first I'm gonna cut it 2 inches longer, okay, and I'm gonna do it in a square. And excuse me, I'm sorry. So there you see it's a little crooked, but that's okay because I'm gonna straighten it out. So what I'm gonna do here is I'm gonna fold it over, and then I'm gonna cut like that. You see how I cut in a little bit of an angle when I folded it over, and then I'm gonna cut another piece the same way. All right, I'm gonna cut the square, pin this down. There you go. I'm gonna pin it down, and I make sure that I cut the edges from the microfiber because I don't want those that seam on there. Okay, it's gonna be the straight furry part. So then I cut it out, okay, and make sure that they're the same, and then I glue the sides. You see how, and I try to get really nice and close to the edge, and I'm applying the glue slowly down the edge and patting it down with my silicone thing that I got. It's like a makeup thing that I got at Dollar Tree. It's a wonderful tool. I use it to protect my fingers instead of using my fingers, because sometimes this gets really hot. So there, I glued the other side down. There you go. And then I turn it inside out, and I am gonna glue it. I'm gonna glue the seams, okay, seam to seam. So the corner, the left side seam, I glue that to the left side seam that I made of the white, and the same thing with that. Then I'm gonna take it and put glue all around and cup it. I'm gonna grab it like a cup. You see how I'm cupping it and pushing down on it so it glues together. And it's gonna get a little bit ruffly, but that's okay because the dress is gonna have ruffles on the top anyways. Now I'm gonna do the same thing with the arms. Now the arms measure to be 5 inches long, and that's exactly what I'm gonna do. I'm going to make them 5 inches long and 4 inches in and width, okay? And so I take my ruler, you see how I have it, I mark it at 4, then I take it and mark it down on the bottom to be 5 inches. So I make the square 4 by 5, you see that? And then I cut it in an angle, you see that? Because this is they're gonna look like almost like angel arms, the sleeves, okay? They're gonna be like pointy and long, hanging down. So that's the effect that I wanted. So then I take it and I lay it down, and the bottom measures 6 inches. That's what it was. The top is 4 inches, the bottom of the sleeve is 6 inches, and then the whole thing is 5 inches long, okay? So there, I'm cutting the second one exactly the same. I'm going to pin it down so I can cut it exactly the same. And then I do the same thing for the other arm. I do the same exact thing. I'm sorry if you hear noises of horns honking and birds and all that. I'm outside in my backyard. I wanted to get some fresh air. I've been in the craft room all day trying to get this video done. That's why I'm late, and I'm sorry that I'm late, but I made a promise that I would be in the collaboration, and I have had a pretty long day yesterday with my daughter's birthday, and I got up late. All right, here I got a piece of, it was stiff. This was a piece of felt, but it was kind of stiff. It was cheap. So I take it and I cut it 5.5 inches in square, okay? And then I cut it in half, all right? Then I get my circle, and this is how I figured out to cut it nice and round. I take the circle, and it's a 2.5 inch in circumference, okay? And right at the middle of it, I take it and put it towards the edge, and it gives you the lines. I like this little circle stencil. It really helped me out a lot. So I was able to round them up, and then when I turned them inside out, when I was doing it at first, I used that tongue so I could push the rounded part out, okay? And it was better because I didn't want to use anything pointy or stiff because I was scared that it would go right through the felt. So I used that tongue, and there, yeah, right there, you see it. It went through, and I got it nice and round. And then here, I cut again the wire the same length of the leg, okay? And then I bent it at first in the beginning, and then I bent it again so it had a bigger loop, okay? So I did it in like a U shape, and then I squeezed the bottoms together. There I put a piece of cotton first, and then I take and put in the leg, the wire, and then I stuff it. And I stuff it really stiff, okay? And then after I stuff it really nice and stiff, I want the top edge to have no cotton, no fiber fill, okay, for about the width of my thumb. And I show you there. You see how I did that? Yeah. And then I put glue all around the edges, and slowly I go tapping it so I don't burn myself, but I'm slowly tapping it and then wiping the top of the excess glue that comes out. And I keep squeezing it slowly until it seals. And I do the same thing with the other leg. Then here I take some more of that microfiber, and I'm making like little boots for it. So I make it 6 inches long by 3 inches wide, and then I make 2 pieces like that. Then I fold them in half and cut them in half. All right. After I cut them, there I'm cutting the second one. And I'm not worried about the black because I end up cutting that all off. See, there I cut it in half. And then I do the circle thing again. You see that? And there's a middle line right in the middle. So it helps you to be able to get that perfect rounded edge. So I love this stencil. I'm glad that I bought it. And I bought it only for a couple dollars in Hobby Lobby. It didn't cost much. Alright, so there I'm gluing the sides and all around the edge. And I'm not worried about that. You can see the black around the edge. But the bottom piece, I do cut off anything black there because you might see it. Okay? And then, see how I cut it off? You see me cutting it off? Alright, now I cut that one off too, and then I put them together so they're the exact same size, and I trim that. Then I'm gonna put them on like socks, okay? And then I tack them down at both sides of the seam, and then a little dot in the front and a little dot in the back. And that's how I attach them, okay? I didn't glue them all the way down because I don't know, I just didn't want it to be all real hard. Okay, and there I take the sleeves and I'm going to tack them on to the arm now. And what I do is the short side of the sleeve, the side of the sleeve that's not going to be in an angle, I connect that to the seam of the arm, okay? And then I do the opposite side and tack that down, and then I crinkle it so it gets all like ruffly. You see that? How I glued it together, and then I squeeze it together and I join it. And that's how I do the sleeves, okay? Because I want it to be a little bit ruffly, like off the top like that, so it like ruffles out. Now here I had that microfiber pad, or I don't know what you want to call it. It's one of those Swiffer pads, the imitation Swiffer pads from Dollar Tree, and I just folded it in half and glued it together. That's all I did. This is for the hat. Then I take these little snowflakes, I paint them white all the way around, and I do 2 coats. Here's the first coat, and I glue them onto that tongue depressor because it's just like a little dot. I put a glue and I put it on there so it doesn't move around. And here I'm doing the second coat, and I add some glitter to give it some shine. Okay, so it's nice and glittery. Then I take the hat and I'm going to take it and stuff it. Okay. It's going to kind of look like a top hat, kind of. And there I have some bling bling, blue bling bling, I call it. And I measured it around the seam of the hat. And then I'm going to take 2 of the lines and cut 2 of the lines of the bling bling. And I'm going to wrap it around. I'm going to find the center in the back, and I want it to cross over and make an X towards the front. So there I glued it down in the back. See, I tacked it. Then I bring it to the front and make an X with it. but to the side, not in the, it's the front side, okay? And then I make a little X with it right there. You see that? And then I set it to the side so it could settle. Now I'm going to take the lace and I'm going to ruffle the lace, and I show you how I glue it down, and then how I pleat it, okay, to give it that ruffle look. So that's how I did it. Just watch how I do it. I lay it down, tack it, then I put a little drop of glue, and then I fold it over to that little tack of glue. And then I do it again, bring it out, tack it with a little bit of glue, and fold it over. And there you're going to see it done. I did it all around. Then I take one line of the bling and I put it on the top part of the lace, on the upper portion, so it gives it like a trim. It's like in the middle, like it's above the middle, like 3/4 of the way up. And I do the same thing to the other arm and then to the booties, okay? I do the same thing with the lace, and I do the same thing with the rhinestone for that. Now here I'm doing the dress up in the neckline. I'm pleating that with a little bit thicker lace that I had, okay? And then yeah, see, and then the same thing. I'm just showing you that the same thing that I did with the booties, I'm doing with the dress. I'm gluing the bling all around, the blue bling. I put it all around at 3/4 up the way. Okay, and then I take the bottom and I'm doing the lace there. And this is a bigger, longer lace. This is like a 3-inch lace. Or is it 2-inch? Yeah, 2-inch lace, something like that. I forget. And then I take that, and 1/4 of the way of it, I glue it. It's like a 1/4 inch up, or a 1/2 inch up from the edge. And I pleat it, and there I move the camera down a little bit so you can see more of what I'm doing. How I tack it down. Then I put a little drop of glue, and then I put it down, pull it down, put a little tack of glue, bring it, fold it, and that's how I do it all the way around. It's better for you to just watch than me try to explain it. It's just so hard to explain. It's like I do a line, then I put a little tack of glue, and do a line, and put a little tack of glue and fold it over. Yeah, like that. And then at the end, I do a pleat right at the end and cut it right there. Excuse me. Then I cut 2 single strips of the bling, and I'm going to go down like 1/8 of an inch from the top, and then I'm going to glue it down to all the edge all the way around. My son made me laugh when he saw this at the end. He goes, "That gnome looks like she belongs in a movie." I started laughing. I said, maybe so, I don't know. But she came out so cute. I think she's cuter than the Santa Claus. I don't know, but she just looks like something, like my son said, like something that you would see in one of those animated cartoon movies. All right, and there goes the little hat. And I glue on a snowflake, and then I measured it on the neck, and then I put glue all around the edges of the neck, and then I put the hat down, tack it, and then I glue the nose in. Then I lift up the hat a little bit and glue the arms in with the long side facing downwards. You see how I have it? And then I glue it. Yeah, there you go. And there, you'll see it. And there she is. She's attached. Then I take the snowflake and I put it on its belly. Then I'm going to attach the legs by gluing it at the edge. I tack that one down and hold it for a couple seconds, because you see how it's coming down, and then I go to glue the other one and it comes down, and there you go. That's it. And here they are at the final reveal. Now make sure you look at the playlist. There's some really talented people, and check out Tiffany. She's a great creator. She loves gnomes and she does very beautiful work with gnomes. Okay, and here's my little Santa and my little Snow Queen, I can say. I hope that you enjoyed watching the video. Thank you. Like, share, and subscribe. I'm glad that you were here today and you came to watch. I'll read down in the description. There's other ways of you how to contact me. So thank you for watching and have a great day. Bye bye.